In the previous episode, Twilight reveals his true goal, reviving Veldora, forcing Luminous to conclude he must be stopped, even as he seemingly kills her with origin blood. But instead of dying, Luminous awakens fully restored as the true divine ancestor, having regained her memories and evolved beyond Twilight. She exposes that Twilight was never complete, only a body that lost its original personality, while she inherited the true will and identity. Twilight unleashes his ultimate skill, Eternal Twilight, but it is completely neutralized by Luminous's evolved power, Ahura Mazda, the direct opposite of his evil authority. Accepting responsibility for the atrocities born from her own experiment, Luminous summons the Genesis-grade sword Dharma and ends Twilight mercifully with Memory and Requiem, bringing the long, tragic experiment to a close as the true divine ancestor finally returns. Now, let's continue the story and jump straight into Chapter 2, Part 3. With the King of Vice finally defeated, the battlefield fell into silence, until Rain's slow, mocking applause broke the tension as she casually praised Luminous for her perfect victory. Though Luminous dismissed Rain's claim that she had come to help, Rain revealed her true feelings. She genuinely despised the divine ancestor Twilight, yet deeply respected and cared for Luminous herself. Unable to hold back, Rain asked the question that mattered most, whether the Luminous standing before her was truly the former demon lord, now fully merged with the divine ancestor. Luminous confirmed it, explaining that Veldora himself had given her the name Luminous, and that the divine ancestor's memories had completely fused into her own will, leaving that former self dormant. As a result, the full powers of both Angra Mayu, the king of evil, and Ahura Mazda, the king of good light, now belonged solely to her, along with the ability to freely alter her form, even into Twilight's male appearance, something she openly disliked. Turning her attention back to the battlefield, Luminous acknowledged that Misery had been maintaining the Sanctuary secret technique in her absence, and after briefly ignoring Rain's self-congratulatory remarks, she took command once more. Contacting Misery, Luminous reclaimed the Sanctuary, thanking her as divine light poured across the battlefield, stabilizing the front lines. Because with Luminous fully awakened as both Demon Lord and Divine Ancestor, the battle had finally shifted in their favor. On the Eastern Front, Hinata and Kalgurio were locked in a brutal clash against Ivaraj's elite humanoid cryptids, but Benimaru stepped in with support so overwhelming it barely deserved the name. Standing at Cardinal Nicholas's base point, directly in the enemy's attack path, he unleashed Hell Flare after Hell Flare, wiping out the cryptids swarming to break the holy field. With Rimuru's return confirmed, Benimaru fought with radiant confidence, cutting down even high-ranking cryptids in a single stroke. To him, the so-called Demon Lord-class enemies were nothing more than nuisances, unless they had evolved human intelligence. Yet despite his overwhelming strength, he never built battle plans around himself alone, much to the relief of the Holy Knights and Imperial Guards struggling to keep up. Meanwhile, Testarosa's 200 black numbers fought with frightening discipline under their Empress's watchful gaze, pushing the front line into stability. Seeing their effort, Benimaru simply smiled and said, "Good luck, you all," as the tide of battle turned in their favor. In the south, the battle between Ultima and Suimu reached its decisive climax, and Ultima was already laughing. Suimu possessed overwhelming raw power, with attacks capable of instant death, but that meant nothing when its combat skill was childish. Had it remained in its original beast form, Ultima might have struggled, but the moment Suimu took on a human shape, the fight became one-sided. Enraged by losing the upper hand, Suimu fired near-light-speed energy beams, yet Ultima calmly dodged them, recognizing that while the beam itself was fast, the motion of turning its palm was not, making every attack telegraphed. Even Suimu's meteor-level punches were useless, their amateur swings never coming close. Though Suimu's existence value and energy reserves exceeded Ultima's by more than tenfold, it had no experience facing adversity, while Ultima had refined her combat sense through Damrata's techniques, rivalry with Zegion, and real battles against Velgrind, earning her title as the Fist Demon. Declaring Suimu weak, Ultima summoned 2 mythical-grade knuckle knives, freely materialized weapons that allowed her to stab, slash, and strike while secretly injecting cursed poison through her bloody bite technique. Bored and confident, she announced the end. The poison Ultima planted finally reached limit end. Black spots spread across Suimu's body, linking into dark vines as a purple flower bloomed at its core. Inside, a black flame core formed, feeding on Suimu's immense energy like a cancer, growing until collapse was inevitable. Suimu never realized the danger. The moment the curse fully matured, Ultima calmly spoke the final command, "Core break." The Abyss Core activated, all energy imploded inward, a door to the void opened, and in an instant, Suimu was erased into absolute nothingness. On the western front, Kakayashi reigned supreme, effortlessly overwhelming Shion, Gobta, and Ranga as they fought desperately just to stay alive, even after Kumara joined with her fully awakened 8 serpent heads. Once feared as an undefeated king from another world, Kakayashi had never known true struggle. Everything it faced had always died too easily. Unlike Suimu, however, it craved growth and battle. Yet this fight only bored it. Gobta's demon wolf fusion with Ranga, Kumara's poisons and paralysis, even Shion's relentless and surprisingly tactical assaults barely scratched its body. It even allowed attacks to land out of boredom, pretending to feel pain, while quietly studying their teamwork, timing, and techniques, especially now that its human form limited its control. With terrifying sensory ability, Kakayashi could smell magical energy and reconstruct the battlefield in its mind more accurately than sight, reading every movement and mana shift. Still, despite being vastly outmatched, Shion's sharp instincts, Gobta and Ranga's defensive coordination, and Kumara's disruptions prevented any fatal blow, though defeat was only a matter of time. That was when everything changed. Veldora arrived with a thunderous declaration, immediately drawing Shion's irritation for once again, stealing her prey. But even she knew the truth. If Kakayashi went all out, the others wouldn't survive. Gobta's trembling plea for help finally pushed her to accept Veldora's support, and the real battle began. For the first time, Kakayashi felt uncertainty. Veldora's aura was perfectly suppressed, hiding power far beyond its understanding. When Veldora stepped forward, Kakayashi instinctively retreated, circling and rebuilding its strategy from scratch before lunging in with terrifying speed and killing intent. But it was already too late. With a roaring shout, Veldora unleashed Converging Stormfang, compressing Ruin Tempest's black storm into his fists, one blow smashing Kakayashi's cheek, the next detonating beneath its jaw. The impact obliterated its stamina in an instant, overwhelming it with power far exceeding its own. For the first time in its existence, Kakayashi felt fear. And in that moment of confusion, unable to flee or adapt, its defeat was sealed the instant Veldora entered the battlefield.